Thank you for joining us for this game. Let's take a look at the Brisbane Broncos first up. Their side is the same side that was named earlier in the week. Sean Berrigan makes his return after missing the last 2 games for the Broncos in the centres. He's there in jumper number 4. Barry Berrigan, his brother, also there in 9 playing hooker. They've both had a virus during the week but are fit to play this afternoon. And the bench for the Broncos is Parker, Myers, Frawley and Maguire. The coach, Wayne Bennett. For the Melbourne Storm, a couple of changes to their side. Stephen Bell comes into the team for the first time this year after missing the start of the season with a stress fracture to the foot. He takes the place of Dustin Cooper, while one change in the forwards is Kirk Reynoldson, who will start at lock forward for David Kidwell. He goes back to the bench to be joined by Williams, Kafusi and Hoffman. The coach is Craig Bellamy. Darren Lockyer will get us underway. The Melbourne Storm will have the football first up, defending the southern end of Suncorp Stadium as Robbie Kearns brings it back out towards the Storm 20-metre line. Smith from dummy half comes down this left-hand side. Peter Robinson works it down towards the 30 as Smith gives it off to Rodney Howe. Grabbed by Seven Asiva and also Darren Lockyer. Smith goes to the right-hand side and gives it to Stephen Kearney. Carlaw there to meet him with the help of Barry Berrigan, like brother Sean, in bed this week with a virus. It's okay to play this afternoon as Kearns puts them in good position. They picked up so many metres through the forwards last week against the Dragons. A kick over the top, flying onto it was Stephen Turner, who was grabbed by Carmichael Hunt, but he was offside, says Stephen Clark.
Offside, also an injury to Steve Turner. This would be bad luck for the youngster. Played great football last weekend. And a terrific start for the Melbourne Storm. Was a well-rehearsed play. Got a beautiful bounce, Turner. And then Hunt comes across. Oh, just see him there. Just gets himself in an awkward position. Oh, you got a feel for the young fella.
Scored that double last week against the Dragons. And in the first minute here, almost came up with a spectacular play, but was ruled offside straight away by Stephen Clark. Now, as he picks up the ball here, you see him trying to get away from Carmichael Hunt, and then I think Hunt's body weight came down on the left leg and flexed that knee inwards of Steve Turner, and there is obvious concern for him. Here's the injury again, as you see Carmichael Hunt just caught the knee there of Steve Turner. Turner loaded on to the Medicab. They will take him off. Darren Lockyer is still waiting on. We've had only 54 seconds of play here. A thumbs up from the Melbourne doctor. Cameron Smith from dummy half feeding it off to Matt Orford. And then over the top, an athletic take from Steve Turner. But it was all to no avail for a couple of reasons. One, he was offside, and in the second instance you see that left ankle there perhaps could also be a problem for him. And as he comes off the field, in the background we heard the Brisbane crowd here boo because the player who took the field to replace Steve Turner, Ryan Hoffman, took the field before Turner was taken from the field. So in effect, legitimately speaking, they had 14 players on the field, the Melbourne Storm, and obviously that's a very touchy subject up here in Brisbane at the moment.
I'm sure it would be, but one difference in the ruling from last weekend, the official give him the all clear to go on.
Berrigan from dummy half, working it away. Perhaps unlucky not to get a penalty, the Broncos there, with it looked like Robbie Kearns not quite back in the 10-metre defensive line. Here's Tallis now, taking it across the 30, standing in the tackle. He was so good last week against the Tigers. Here's Lockyer, grubbering in behind them. Slater, well positioned as ever, takes them on down the short side and almost got barreled into touch. We've seen him do that before, but this time he stays in.
A show of confidence, wasn't it, by Billy Slater? I don't think it was the right option, but showed a lot of strength to stay in.
Here's Reynoldson, one of the Queenslanders looking to impress today, of course, with The origin scene not too far down the track. Test match against New Zealand for Australia to play before that. Smith, current Queensland hooker, feeds it for Scott Hill. A poor kick, and in fact Robbie Kearns had to duck out of the way of it to avoid being hit with the ball, and then they were up inside the 10 as the Broncos played at it, so a penalty to Brisbane.
Yeah, sloppy kick by Scott Hill. Certainly needed to get a bit more distance on that. Didn't strike it particularly well, and the Melbourne Storm forwards were all inside the 10. A couple of penalties already for the Broncos.
Well, they'll come on the attack here. Berrigan taps it and gives it to Sivanasiva, who's met there by Kearney and also Robinson. They're spread wide to the left-hand side, but Webke will just bump it forward towards the post. He barreled one player out of the way. Rodney Howe left dazed on the ground by that Webke charge. They keep it going left. Here's Carlaw taking it to the line now, looking for an offload himself. It came loose, and the Melbourne Storm come up with it through Ryan Hoffman.
Yeah, good work by Cameron Smith. He realised that the offload was happening. He punched down on the forearm of Carlaw, the ball jolting loose, and the Melbourne Storm picking up the football. Tremendous clash, wasn't it, between Webke and Rodney Howe.
Here's Orford. Coming wider to Kearney, who will play it at the 30-metre line. Smith, with only one marker there, picked up some metres before he gave it off to Rodney Howe, and they'll play it here 5 short of the halfway line. Last play, Orford under some pressure from Barry Berrigan. Another poor kick from the Melbourne Storm. Orford chasing through his own kick, and what a bounce he got! He came to Carmichael Hunt, but lost it. And then Stuart Kelly made a good tackle as well. Spectacular play, though, from the halfback.
A spectacular play. Also interesting to note that the first 3 times they've kicked the football this afternoon, Melbourne Storm, it's been plenty of variety. One was a short kick, one was a midfield bomb, one was an absolute shocker from Scotty Hill. I'm pretty sure that'd be a tactic. Try and test Carmichael Hunt out. Don't make the game easy for him.
Berrigan coming to Sivanasiva, who takes it across the halfway line. Still no score here at Suncorp Stadium between the Broncos and the Storm. Lockyer, a second man play, lost on that left-hand side by Sean Berrigan. He coughed it up, of course, playing his first game since round 1 when he damaged a hamstring in that win against the Warriors.
Was well read, though, by Ryan Hoffman. Had him covered. He didn't commit to the straight runner. He saw
Rodney, with your outside legs up.
Berrigan coming as a second-man player.
Keep it in there. I'll call you out. In front of that leg, Matt. Out!
Orford from the scrum win, giving it to Ryan Hoffman, who is big and rangy.
Here it is.
Will be used mostly these days as a back rower for Melbourne, but as you can see, can play wider still and will fill that role today for the rest of the game with Steve Turner out of action. Robbie Kearns, a good charge back on the angle in behind the play. The ball ends up in a slightly awkward position. Smith from dummy half. Ball from Orford back on the inside for Slater, who was almost away. It was a good tackle. A tackle needed to be made too by Tallis. Orford again, a flat pass to Hill. He's wrapped up by Berrigan. Bell comes to Orford on the last play, grubbering for Slater, who's flying, and Lockyer takes no chances. He batted it across the dead ball line with Slater right on his hammer.
Well, it's good play by the Melbourne Storm, winning the battle of the play the balls. Really quick play the balls. They're rolling forward. Brisbane, they got their line set. They don't move fast forward. They tend to hold their line a lot more than some of the other teams in the competition. They sacrifice speed of the line for togetherness. And Orford at the moment's having a field day. Looks dangerous every time he runs the football to the line. Watch out for Slater, sniffing around for inside balls. Broncos forwards need to be wary.
Robbie Kearns bringing it back from a long drop out from Lockyer. It went almost 60 on the fly as Matt King takes it to within 30, and they'll get a penalty. Good run from King to get through the advantage line. He forced the panic from the Brisbane defenders. And after a deadlock for the opening 7 minutes of this game, Cameron Smith will try and rectify that by putting the Melbourne Storm in front. You could see Tony Carroll coming in over the top there in what was described as a flop by referee Stephen Clark. Smith from the 30, a good kicker of the football, but this one was hooked. It misses to the right hand side. We stay locked at 0-0 here at Suncorp. Lockyer came up with a booming 60-metre dropout on the previous goal line dropout. He wanted to come up with something similar here, and because of that, I'm sure the Melbourne Storm will be waiting a little bit deeper for this kick than perhaps they might have been.
Stay, boys.
The kick skews off the inside of the boot, and Peter Robinson has to play it off the hands and keep it in the field of play without treading on the sideline. It wasn't a great kick, but it almost worked for Lockyer. McDougall from dummy half dances back midfield. Great game last week against the Dragons at Olympic Park he enjoyed, as Kearns now rolls it forward. Picked up in a driving tackle by Tony Carroll, the Brisbane lock forward. Howe will go to Warford, who shifts it on. A nice pass to Hill. Second man play. They move it downfield through Stephen Bell. He goes wider still to Hoffman, who's within 10 there of the Brisbane Broncos line. Bell from dummy half to Hill with Orford outside him. Pass to Kearney, was in behind Robbie Kearns. Lockyer came up quickly to stop him, but he's still there. Around the back, what a pass that was. Orford to Hill, back to the right-hand side, and Reynolds is chopped down by Berrigan. They'll keep it going right. Smith, there are hands. 3-on-2 they have. It goes to Hoffman. Through the hands they went. They knew where the spaces were, and they find one. Hoffman diving over in the corner to score the first points of the game.
Geez, that's terrific play by the Melbourne Storm. They'd stretched the Broncos out to their left, and then they went back to their right, and it was just good hands. And it was Orford and Hill involved.
You see Hill onto Reynolds, and that was a terrific tackle. Sean Berrigan making that, and they knew the spaces were still there. Hill through the hands there of Bell and on to Hoffman, who was unmarked. The cover was coming, but there was no getting to Ryan Hoffman as he dives across in the corner.
Okay, mate, thank you. Sorry, mate. All right, okay. Yeah. He said, you know, the decision's right. Yeah. Okay, mate, if you've got a problem with it, you can come and see me. Just in a reasonable manner, no problems.
And from the sideline, Cameron Smith, who strikes this one beautifully. Right over the black dot it goes. And the Storm lead the Broncos here at Suncorp with 10 minutes gone, 6 points to 0.
Oh, terrible mistake by the Melbourne Storm off the kickoff.
Rodney Howe lets it bounce. A mix-up between himself and Scott Hill. And it's cost them a goal line dropout here. It bounced right beside Scott Hill, who was coming across and then left it. He put Howe in a no-win situation, really.
Yeah, well, your catcher has to take it. Don't leave it to the front row. If you're in a position, one of the halves, you need to take the football and bring the front rower onto the ball.
Well, Webke brings it back to be met by a trio of Storm players. He's tackled just outside the 30. Seven Asiva works it forward to be tackled by Reynoldson and also Kearney. Lockyer standing on that left-hand side, gets it here at first receiver with Tallis outside him, shows it, but elects to take them on himself. Sean Berrigan is very good from that position. This time he links up with Carlaw, who runs at Orford, flips it back for Webke. Back to Sean Berrigan once again. It comes to Tallis, who tries to stay alive with it. They had a 3-on-2 on that left-hand side, but they did a good job in wrapping up Tallis, but they'll concede a penalty.
Back to the line. Look, he's got off. That's it.
Tallis takes the tap and charges at them. Stopped there by Howe and also Reynoldson. A metre out. Berrigan from dummy half. Tries to show and then go himself, but they were waiting for him. Tallis at dummy half. Feed it back to Seymour. Comes to Lockyer with options outside him. One of them is Brent Tate, who set sail for the corner. Good Storm defence was there to stop him, including Billy Slater, the fullback. Lockyer, a flat pass on the run around from Seven Asiva. Cuts out one. Seymour goes to Sean Berrigan. Kelly for the corner. Hoffman's there but can't stop him. And just like the Melbourne Storm, they knew where the gaps were, came back on a long shift to the left-hand side to score their first try of the afternoon through that man, Stuart Kelly.
Yeah, they'd be disappointed, the Melbourne Storm. They'd scored a try up the other end of the field, off the kick-off, make a mistake. Good teams make you pay. And the Broncos, said, if you can do it, we can do it better. They shifted it to the right, then back out to their left. They worked the numbers, they dragged them into the ruck area, and then they used the football wide. Good passing from the Broncos. Little run round with Seven Receiver and Lockyer. And then it was good catch and pass by Berrigan onto Stuart Kelly. Always going to have speed for Hoffman, going across to get the first try of the afternoon for the Broncos.
And now Michael DeVere, wide out, as was Cameron Smith. This one, hooking, will miss to the left-hand side. So the Storm maintain a 2-point lead here. We've had just on 14 minutes gone in Brisbane. Smith with the kickoff. Another deep one. Before Seymour to take it up against the dead ball line before he gave it off to Sivanasiva. Barry Berrigan from dummy half finds Webber, ducks under the tackle there of Cameron Smith. He'll play it at the Brisbane 20. Carlaw working down this right-hand side, met there by Rodney Howe, who seems okay after being dazed by a strong Shane Webke charge a few moments ago. Carroll, stopped down low by Peter Robinson, will play it to Berrigan with a couple of tackles left. Lockyer will kick early from inside the 40-metre line, but Slater once again, with that speed he has, just shadows across to the right-hand side of the field to take it on the full. A good chase from Gordon Tallis, picked him off with a 20, and what a pick-up from Matt King from dummy half.
Oh, it had to be a good pick-up. He played the ball really quickly, Billy Slater. That's one of the things that the Melbourne Storm have worked hard on this season. Their quick play the balls. That's the thing I like about Billy Slater when he runs the football.
There's a hand in there, Stu Kelly.
Even if he doesn't make a break, everything's done at 100 mile an hour. He'll have the collision and then he's up in a second playing the football. It just gives them a good roll on to start their set of 6 with.
Smith tapping it, gives it off to Rodney Howe, who juggled it. Thought he was going to put it down for a moment there. Tallis wrapped him up. Reynoldsson runs a decoy for Orford. Robbie Kearns working wide of the ruck, a couple of passes to the left-hand side on this occasion. Orford to Slater. He was looking for a gap there between Tate and Lockyer. The 5/8 got to him. Kearney, as they come down the blind side. Rodney Howe, a little ball back on the inside from Orford. And they'll play it there with 4 tackles gone. Smith standing wide at first receiver this time. Hill with Reynoldsson back on the inside, ran into the shoulder of Tallis. He took the steam off his run and he plays it 10 out. Orford on the last, puts the bomb up, some pressure here on Kelly, who goes up and I think knocked it across the sideline.
Melbourne feed loose.
And that's exactly what happened. Kelly taking no chances with it, and Melbourne will get 6 more at close range.
Well, he's had his problems under the high ball this season, Stuart Kelly, and I'm sure they would have told him before the game that to expect the high kick, and if you're in any doubt, just try and knock it out, knock it over the sideline, just play the percentages. Number of times he's been out jumped, number of times he's knocked the ball on. Storm, short play down the short play down the short side,
and that's exactly what it was. Stephen Bell going for the line, lost the ball as he got to the try line. So the set of 6 lasts only 1 play. He almost got there but coughed it up, trying to reach out and score. It was well worked by the Storm. Kelly came in, he bounced away from that particular tackle, and then you see as they come late to stop him from getting to the line, the ball came loose, and Seymour will feed it here for Brisbane. Carmichael Hunt takes it forward, hasn't had a chance to show what he can do so far in this game. Here's Lockyer, Webke from the scrum, quickly wrapping to the open spaces on the right-hand side to be stopped inside the Brisbane 20. Carroll stepping away from the Scott Hill tackle. Barry Berrigan from dummy half now. Caught them on their heels on the defensive line and picked up 15 or so metres. Tate fires it wide, Lockyer, even wider still, Seymour onto Sean Berrigan. Lovely pass for Kelly, dragged out in a tackle by Ryan Hoffman. A try saver because Kelly was in a race with Slater had he got past Hoffman, but a good tackle by Hoffman to knock him into touch.
Great play by Ryan Hoffman, but I'm really enjoying Brisbane this afternoon. They're using the football. They look as though they're Brisbane of old. They're really wrapping the football one way. Then they're getting long field position and they're shifting the football. 2 and 3 passes, trying to get on the outside of the opposition. And it gives them a lot more confidence when Tate and Berrigan are in the centres.
Back. They're right. Out!
Orford from the base of the scrum will give it off to Scott Hill as we go downstairs to Russell Fairfax for a report on the knee injury to Steve Turner.
Well, it's not as bad as first expected. I thought he might have been out for 6 weeks, but it's not just a knee injury, it's a knee and ankle strain, and it looks like he might be missing for 2 to 4 weeks. He won't be back today.
There's a blow for Steve Turner and also the Melbourne Storm. As McDougall keeps it alive, it comes back to Warford. He'll play it at the halfway line. Smith hurdling Gordon Tallis, who was still laying there beside the play the ball. Robbie Kearns looking to work an arm free, wasn't able to do so. Now Smith comes back to this left-hand side. Grabbed by Myers, who's out there now in 15, coming off the bench for the Broncos. And Orford once again will put Stuart Kelly under some pressure here. Bell is out there. Kelly flew, though. Some good work by the inside men for the Broncos coming across. Brett Seymour got there to shield Stuart Kelly, who took it without a Melbourne Storm player getting to him.
Yeah, that's what they need to be doing this afternoon. They need to be aware of that's probably the area they're going to kick to. Not just watch the ball up in the air. Got to get themselves in a position to make it difficult for the Storm attackers to try and get the football off Stuart Kelly.
Seven-a-Seaver taking it outside the 30. Barry Berrigan looking for an option. Nobody putting their hand up to take the hit up, so he just takes it from dummy half, and then again Lockyer will kick from just inside the 40. Down the middle of the park this time. And Slater will watch it trickle across the dead ball line, and they'll bring it back out to their own 20.
He's got a lovely strike of the football, hasn't he? Darren Lockyer just does it with class and a little bit of poise.
Wait!
Matt King it is who brings it back out from their 20 off the tap restart. Met there by Carroll. Come to this left-hand side. Robinson met by Lockyer and also Tate. Kidwell gets his first touch of the afternoon coming onto the field as Craig Bellamy works his bench into the game now. Danny Williams also out there in 14 with the ball now for Melbourne. No other player has come off the bench more in first grade than Danny Williams. He is a specialist and gives them such good value. The kick picked out Carmichael Hunt on the full, but he's met by a solid tackle. Ben McDougall and Williams coming up with a bone cruncher. DeVere, play it for Berrigan. Good pass to Seymour. On to Sean Berrigan. Held up there by Reynoldson and also Hoffman. Myers just hits it up towards the halfway line. Still 6-4 as Shane Webke goes back to the bench to get a breather for the moment with Myers out there. Wasn't a great play the ball from Gordon Tallis. In fact, Stephen Clark says it was more than a poor one.
Hand over, boys.
And that will be a changeover on the last tackle. Brisbane don't get to their kick and turn it over here in pretty good position for Melbourne.
Yeah, Gordon Tallis will be unhappy with that play. The ball, again, fifth tackle, trying to get up quick, play it, get to the kicker straight away. Sometimes you just got to sacrifice a little bit of speed at the play the ball area to make sure that you just control it.
Williams ducking down low in the tackle. Stopped by Seven-a-Seaver. Corey Parker is out there now in 14 for the Broncos. Here's Reynoldson.
And Warren, I watched Corey Parker when he placed Shane Webke. He was 3 metres back from the sideline before he took any part in the game.
No problems on this occasion for the Broncos. McDougall playing it. Smith to Warford, who turns it back on the inside for Kearns. Slater was there. What a take. And what a step from Billy. Who said see you, Slater? A dynamic try from this live wire 20-year-old. And he makes it Melbourne 10, Brisbane 4. That was incredible.
Oh, great feat, wasn't it? That's what he does so well. Puts himself in a position to get the football. He knows who can offload in his football team. Look at him sniffing around Robbie Kearns. Knows he's got a right-hand offload. And then it was a left, then it was a right. And Carmichael Hunt couldn't even lay a hand on him. That's why he's exciting. 20th minute mark. Around the middle of the ruck. Causes damage. Another try for the season. The Storm boys, they're certainly happy.
Number 2 this year for Billy Slater, 21 now in his short career, which has been dominated by tries at home at Olympic Park in 2003. That just his 5th try away from Olympic Park, but what a try it was. Smith adds the extra 2 points, and Melbourne with an 8-point lead here with 16 minutes remaining in this first half. Carmichael Hunt possesses a super step himself, but Billy Slater gave him the old shake and bake. Went left, right, came back to the left-hand side and, well, went in untouched. It was something to watch. Lockyer with the restart. It will sit up for that man, Billy Slater. Named CU Slater by my cohort, Laurie Daly. He lived up to his nickname, Laurie.
Well, he certainly has. He's just an exciting player. There's some people in the game that you enjoy coming to watch regardless of what team you support. And he is one guy that I'm sure football lovers appreciate watching run round every weekend.
Williams playing it for Smith. He will kick. Trying to get it in behind rather. Michael DeVere, who floated back there to take it on the full. Getting through their set of 6 at the moment, the Melbourne Storm. For the most part, not turning the ball over at their own end, and really have limited Brisbane's chances. In fact, the try to Kelly was perhaps their lone scoring chance of this first half so far. Seymour will give it to Parker, who in turn goes wider to Lockyer. Here's Tate passing a long way before the advantage line though, and it was Melbourne who were just able to come across and slide in defence and wait to see who eventually got the ball to take the tacklers on. Parker now playing it. Succumbs to Lockyer. He'll put it high in the air. Slater coming across, looking up, eventually had to come back to his left-hand side. A great take, and then what a step by Slater to get away from Tallis and also Maguire, who were coming down the field. Craig Bellamy, what a play he has in the full-back position here in Melbourne. He'll be hard to ignore for the Queensland State of Origin squad, won't he?
He'd definitely be my 17, Warren. I don't know whether he might make it into the number 1 position to start with, but certainly if he was off the bench, what an impact he would have. You just can't replace speed. He's got that.
Here's Matt King. Will play it here at the halfway line. Smith to Warford on the last tackle, under some pressure from Parker, and again not a deep kick from the Storm halfback. Carmichael Hunt and Stuart Kelly almost came together. Luckily, it was the fullback who came up with it. That could have been embarrassing for them.
Yeah, obviously no communication. And even the body language of the Brisbane side at the moment, they're slow to regroup. They're all around the play the ball. Someone's got to take charge.
Here's Maguire. 5 short of the halfway line. We'll play it back to Berrigan. Here's Lockyer, met there by Smith and also Robbie Kearns. Last play for Brisbane. Hunt gets into first receiver. And Seymour this time will just kick in behind Stephen Bell, looking for the sideline. But Bell will play at it and keep it in the field of play. He had Slater there with him, but it must have been tempting to pass it off to Slater given the irresistible form he's in at the moment.
He certainly would have made a lot of metres out of the pass, because there was only 3 chases for the Broncos. They'd surrounded Stephen Bell.
Stolen ball, boys.
It was a stolen ball, a penalty. It's a piggyback out of there. Crowd certainly aren't happy, but then again, they never are when their team are penalised.
Stay behind.
Oh, didn't look to be too much of a strip in there.
Gordon Tallis was the player. He was around the football. As you said, it didn't look as though he made much of a play at the ball, and perhaps a lucky break here for Melbourne. Antonio Kafusi is out there playing just his 2nd game for the Melbourne Storm. He is a huge, huge man. Tips the scales at something like 115 kilograms and is perhaps 6'3", 6'4" in the old money, if you like, just to mix my currencies. Here's McDougall taking it down to the 20-metre line to be stopped there by DeVere and also Tate. King Comes to Hill, who fends away from Maguire. A good pass to Kafusi, who'll be a handful for the smaller players out wide, including Seymour and also Berrigan, but they wrap him up. Smith comes back to this left-hand side. Orford grubbering off the legs there of one Bronco. Parker didn't play it. It didn't matter in the end because Maguire came up with it, but the Storm looking dangerous again in that set of 6.
Yeah, they've really worked hard on their passing game, the Melbourne Storm. A bit rusty early in the competition. They've certainly improved it over the last couple of weeks. They were lucky that time, Brisbane. Little grubber touched the legs of the Broncos play. Slater was coming out wide. It was a planned, rehearsed move.
Lockyer, a ball back on the inside for Maguire, who was hoping to catch this Storm defensive line out, but they didn't drop off back on the inside. They stayed alive, and now Lockyer, a miscued chip kick. Scott Hill comes down for it for Melbourne and was looking to offload, and as he did so, lost the ball. Oh boy, a mistake there from the experienced man. He knew there was half a chance had he linked up with one of the quicker men out wide. In the end, it's cost them 6 tackles in good position.
Yeah, he knew straight away that it was the wrong thing to do. They'd just gotten the ball back in really good field position.
Keep it up.
And to turn it over cheaply as he did. And that's been an area of Scott Hill's game where he's had to bring back a little bit because sometimes he does go too far. He tries things, that's why he's a special player, but in some circumstances you've got to hold the football and not look for the big play all the time.
Tate will play it here for Brisbane as Webke back out there. He didn't get much of a breather, and he quite often from the scrum win rolls on the second play down this right-hand side for the Broncos. He gets there so quickly. Berrigan from dummy half. Seymour showing it to Parker, who came back to the forwards, and they were all standing there just collecting themselves for a moment. The halfback was wrapped up by Williams and also Robinson. Here's Hunt again. That first receiver with Lockyer outside him, shifting it on for Casey Maguire. He's grabbed by Orford and also Hoffman. Lockyer on the last play. Dumming for the grubber, puts a kick in for Stuart Kelly. And Billy Slater came across to save the day for Melbourne. Couldn't take any chances with it and towed it into touch, and the Broncos will get it back with 6 more from the Melbourne Storm 10-metre line.
Yeah, he couldn't do much about that. He had to make a play for the ball. Smart play by Darren Lockyer down his short side. And then the little pass to Berrigan. Lovely little depth kick. Kelly was coming across. Slater had to play at the football. Good opportunity here for the Brisbane Broncos. Also a bit of a rejuggle in the Melbourne Storm team.
Wait. Find yourselves in there. Come on, get it in. Keep it in, Steve Kearney. Head in. Out.
Seymour has it from the base of the scrum. Here's Carmichael Hunt. Going to repay the favour with the stick that Billy Slater put on him. Berrigan will play. Slow play the ball. Gives Brisbane a penalty, and Berrigan takes the tackle. Almost forces his way over into the post. Kearney caught underneath him. That will be Melbourne's advantage. Now Lockyer fires a pass to Seymour from Parker. They go wider still. Another pass away has cost the Broncos possession. This time it was Maguire who forced the issue, and he gives it straight back to the Storm.
Yeah, good work by the Melbourne Storm. A couple of weeks ago against Newcastle Knights, they conceded plenty of tries on their try line, and they were sliding. They weren't moving forward. Today, they're moving forward off their line, then they're steadying, then they're numbering up. They've learnt from their mistake, this Melbourne outfit.
Hill comes to Robinson as he takes it across the Melbourne Storm 40. Last play for them now. The kicking game hasn't been their strength this afternoon, and again Parker doing a good job getting off the defensive line to put pressure on Matt Orford. The kick in the end was a good one. Kelly had to let it bounce, and we'll bring it back midfield to give them some options and try and find the Storm chase team not working up the middle of the park, but he's stopped by Kearns and also Kearney.
Yeah, they'll have to be careful though, Broncos going one out at Matt Orford, especially when they leave a big hole behind the back of wherever the player's coming from the defensive line, because Billy Slater is hanging off his hip. And if he gives him a short pass, the spacing is just too big then for the forwards, for the Broncos outfit to handle him.
Here's Webke charging at Stephen Kearney. just going forward time and time again, the front rower. That was a big collision between the New Zealander and himself as Sean Berrigan takes it into Melbourne territory here. He'll play it back to Maguire. Lockyer passing it on this time to Tate, who grubbers in behind them. Got the bounce he wanted. Backing up down the middle of the park was Maguire, who knew Kelly was wide and unmarked, but the pass floated over his head. A chance for the Broncos there with a variation on the last play.
Yeah, they had to chance their arm. I think in today's game, the more variation in your kicking game, the better. We've said so many times where a grubber or a chip kick rewards teams. And again, both teams will look dangerous when they've produced a short kick. You've got to do what the fullback doesn't want you to do. Got to get him thinking about his game, his positional play. Whether he go deep, whether he stays short.
King will play it here for Melbourne. Slater getting to dummy half quickly. Hoffman take it across the halfway line with a couple of tackles left in this particular set. Orford hands it on to Robbie Kearns. Again had that right arm poised for an offload, but Slater was just trailing behind them, not looking on that occasion for a chance. A chip over the top though from Orford to Hill. What a pass to Kidwell, who has a player outside him, and Matt King will score the third try of the game for Melbourne. A lovely chip over the top from Orford. Well picked up by Scott Hill, and then they just drew and passed, and it was finished lovely by that man, Matt King.
Well, I thought King had actually fumbled the football. He looked as though he held it. Okay, the touch judge is on the spot, but it was a lovely bit of play. We're just talking about the short kicking game and the opportunities it does present itself if you're prepared to chance your arm a little bit. It just sat up lovely for Scott Hill. Kidwell playing left centre with McDougall off the field, and then King looked as though he juggled it, but no, got it down. And that's a good play just on the stroke of 4.5 minutes away from half time. What a lead this will be for the Melbourne Storm team.
A nice piece of play once again. They leap into each other's arms. Matt Orford, of course, the man who laid the try on with the chip in behind them. Craig Gower had a great game for the Panthers on Friday night against the Roosters. Brett Camorley in a losing side couldn't do much for the Sharks against the Rabbitohs last night. And Orford really is one of the contenders for the halfback job, which has been vacated by Andrew Johns. What a kick from Smith. He's potted a couple now from wide out to bust this game open here. The Storm lead by 14. It's 18 points to 4. There's still time for them to add to this scoreline before halftime.
And then we'll see what they come up with off the kickoff. The Melbourne Storm, remembering last kickoff, it went dead. There's a little bit of a communication breakdown. It's got to go to one of their catches if it's up in the air. And this time it looks as though Orford's calling the football.
And it's Kaufusi who brings it out and drops it on the first play. Can you believe that? The Broncos get a chance to hit straight back. Lockyer takes it forward. They get a penalty. The quick tap taken. He got the mark. And again, the Melbourne Storm up inside the 10 here might find they have somebody in the bin. Stephen Clark ignores that option. But Darren Lockyer again will tap it and give it to Shane Webke. Here's Berrigan from dummy half. He comes away to Dane Carlaw, who was an easy target for Orford and also Kidwell. A Kaufusi mistake might cost the Melbourne Storm here. Tate loses it himself in the tackle there. Well, they're off the hook, Melbourne. And Antonio Kaufusi will breathe a huge sigh of relief.
I just can't believe how many teams already this season, after points have been scored, have turned it over quite cheaply on first and second plays. It's just a cardinal sin. You've got to get to your kick when you've put points on the board. And Tate just not controlling the football, made far too many errors in this first 40 minutes of Brisbane Broncos. And we see Steve Turner on the bench.
Out.
The Storm have it from the scrum win after Steve Clark gave a running tutorial for Antonio Kaufusi on the final points of front row play. Here's Williams wrestling in the tackle with Maguire, lost it cold. Webke got there, couldn't come up with it.
No.
And so the Storm once again,
Billy.
with just over a minute and a half left in this first half,
No, he lost it.
give the Brisbane Broncos a chance to narrow this scoreline before the break.
I thought there was a hand in there. And if it was, it's a good opportunity again.
Keep it bound.
Steve Turner on the bench.
Out.
The doctor, the physio is looking, but the Broncos are attacking.
Here's Tate, comes to De Vere. He'll be tackled inside the Melbourne Storm 20. Lockyer at first receiver. Wants the football in his hands in this set of six plenty of times. He'll play it here. Just on 60 seconds remaining in this first half at Suncorp, and Brisbane desperate for a four-pointer. Carroll wrestling, looking for a penalty, won't get one. Berrigan fires it to Lockyer. They're spread far and wide and deep as well. Seymour comes to Carmichael Hunt, shows it to Maguire. Some good defence from Melbourne. Scott Hill making the tackle with Williams, shut him down. Seymour looking one way, coming wider still. Carlaw was there. He wanted the run around. Last play here for Brisbane. Seymour will grubber in behind him. In fact, he'll chip on. What a play from Matt King. Like Mark Bosnich saving a goal for Man United from an era past. He reached out with the big left paw and saved what might have been a try.
Oh, tremendous work by Matt King. And I'm sure that there's only a few players in the game that could have done this. You have to be 6 foot to at least have got a hand to it. And what is he, 6'2", 6'3"? Smith in his heyday. Could you have done that?
Not even close. Oh, Smith in his heyday. I don't know what you're taking, but I like it. Here's Webke. He'll bring it back up towards the 30. He bumps again off Danny Williams. What about some of the collisions with Shane Webke this afternoon? Last play, they got it away before the siren. Here's Lockyer. Will chip in behind them. King is there once again. Oh, would you believe that? He comes up with a super save 1 minute, and then the football absolutely betrays him. De Vere comes up with it and scores after the bell for Brisbane.
Well, I can't believe that. And it was this the bounce. He put the short kick over. They knew it was coming. They rushed to get back there. And the ball, well, it just bounced away from both of those players. Look, you can see both of them. They're desperate to get to the footy. And it just bounced. They can't do anything about that. Lockyer, again, a little short kick. Produced a couple of tries this afternoon. That's a wicked bounce. Straight into the hands of De Vere. The Storm players, their heads went down. And the Broncos are quite excited now about the second half.
That is a huge, huge play in the context of this game. Michael De Vere so close to reaching out and scoring off the previous chip from Lockyer, only to be denied by Matt King. Comes up with 4 points then. And here is his kick from wide out. It swings back from the right hand upright. And what was a handy Melbourne Storm lead has been reduced from 14 to 8 as they go to the sheds at the break. Steve Clark blows time on for this second half. The kick will bounce down here for Gordon Tallis, who takes it up against the sideline. Grabbed there by Scott Hill. The Broncos trying to eat away at this 8-point deficit. Carlaw, good run from the now front rower who took it across the 30-metre line. Berrigan gives it to Webke. Here he is again to the advantage line and then some. Grabbed by his Queensland origin teammate and Cameron Smith. Parker. And Tony Carroll outside him, but took the tackle. They play it in Storm territory here. They've done well in the first 4 tackles. Carroll gets his turn now. Wrapped up by Robbie Kearns, who was working across from marker. Lockyer provided the kick for Michael De Vere. Score after the siren, and again a spiral bomb taken well by Billy Slater, with Broncos pouring down on top of him.
And they're quite hard to take, them spiral bombs. You think you've got them and all of a sudden they float away from you at the end. Another good take there by Billy Slater. That'll be a tactic. I'm sure the Broncos will continue to use. No matter how good you are under a high ball, you hear the footsteps coming, only one quick peek away from the footy, you can find yourself in some trouble.
Darren Lockyer up very quickly off the defensive line. And they forced a mistake here from Robinson as well. Put one down in the first half and now has again here early in the second half. There's Melbourne Storm picking up from where they left off as far as turnovers at their own end of the field are concerned. The Broncos, you can see, inside the Storm 30 here. Chance for Brisbane to narrow this gap potentially to 2. Lockyer. Tallis standing too wide from the scrum. Step back on the inside from Scott Hill and then lost the ball, but it was stripped out. Slater and Hoffman were there in the tackle, and the ball came loose from Tallis, who says, we will reduce this margin from 8 to 6, please, sir, with an attempted penalty goal.
Yeah, interesting decision by Gordon Tallis early in the second half. They might have thought about kicking the ball out, keeping the pressure on the Melbourne Storm team. They had plenty of success just before half-time. They're really starting to make the Storm forwards just before the break work harder. They were turning the ball inside. They were really working over the Storm forwards. There's a lot of interchanges happening. They started to walk around. They were getting quite bunched. Just slows the tempo of the game down here a little bit for them. If he kicks this, 6 points behind. A little psychological barrier, I suppose, has been passed.
DeVere with the kick. Strikes it nicely. He gets the 2 points. And it is just a converted try now, the difference between them. Melbourne 18. And the Broncos 12. The Storm perhaps thought they were in for a comfortable afternoon here with an 18-4 lead. That has certainly changed in a hurry, hasn't it?
Well, you're never in for a comfortable afternoon when you play the Broncos. You know you've got to go 80.
Carlo will play it back to Berrigan. Here's Webke again, rolling it along up towards the 30-metre line. They do a good job of slowing the ball down. Now Tallis running at them, though, comes to Cameron Smith, who did well to hang on to the legs of Tallis. Lockyer, flat pass for Corey Parker, who was met there by Orford. He'll play it. 5 on his own side of halfway. Lockyer down this blind side, will kick off the outside of the left boot, putting a kick in again for Michael DeVere, but getting back there. Matt King beat him to the ball that time. They're having quite a battle out there, aren't they, those two?
Yeah, it's a good play, though, by Darren Lockyer. The winger has to come up when you go down the short side. And then if you can place it in behind him, as we saw before half-time, you get a lucky bounce. You're under pressure straight away. Now, the Melbourne Storm, they've just got to get a completion up just after half-time. This will help them.
No, there was a second one, and he flipped him over. I'll just explain. Yeah, absolutely. He lost his legs, I called dominant. If he stayed on him, no problems. No, hang on, Gordon.
You've got to be able to
Gordon, hang on. No. Yeah. Then he picked him up, a second movement, and turned him over. And that's where he brought himself undone.
So just hold on.
If he just laid on him, he lost his legs dominant, no problems.
Okay.
You see Tony Carroll there rolling Danny Williams over, who looked up hoping for a penalty and got one, but Shane Wemke blew up a treat at Stephen Clark, and because of that, they will now have it just outside the 30. Here's Smith tapping it for Robinson. This time, no problem with the hands. Orford has Robbie Kearns outside him. Runs at Shane Webke. As ever, doing the hard stuff early in the tackle count. Smith start a step out of dummy half. Grabbed there by Carlaw. Orford getting the dummy half himself. Back to Cameron Smith. They almost created something in around the play the ball there. Kidwell waiting for it. Finds Orford. Kafusi running the decoy, a chance on the right-hand side, but Hill stepped back in towards the traffic and was wrapped up there by Tallis. They had numbers to the right. Now Slater from dummy half. Grubbers, still the last tackle. It comes to Bell, away to Hoffman. He steps back in field, then looks for the line and got there, but was held up. Good Brisbane defence.
Oh, that's good scrambling defence by Broncos. They've certainly got an attitude. Oh.
Back there.
I thought he played the ball there with no dummy half. Lucky the referee had called it up. But scramble defence, that's what you need on your line.
Parker almost driven back into his in goal. Kelly from dummy half. will work it back towards midfield as we go downstairs to Russell Fairfax.
Well, if Melbourne can hang on and win this game, it'll be some sort of an effort because they're down now to 15 men. They've also lost Ben McDougall plus Steve Turner. McDougall's pulled a hamstring and he won't be back. Bellamy spoke about defence at half-time and keep it. And in the other camp, Bennett, well, there's no injuries there, but he was on about discipline. And I'm not just talking about penalties, he's talking about when they've got the ball.
Melbourne, a depleted squad they have now. It's the injuries that have come to the outside backs that have them struggling. Here's Slater. Good ball away to Matt King. And once again, bringing the ball back at 100 miles an hour, Billy Slater.
Well, they do it well. He also has got the ability to link with his outside men. You've got to make sure that your chase is spot on. Not only worrying about Slater, but the wingers.
Smith grabbed by Webke. Got it to Slater, who stepped back inside the Carlaw tackle. He was almost away, but he was grabbed by Barry Berrigan. Kearns loses it. It pops up for Seymour. And once again, the Storm struggling to get through their set of 6. And Brisbane have it just outside their 30-metre line. Lockyer goes wide early. Tate showing it. Got in behind them. Gave it off to Michael DeVere. Orford was there, but he stumbled. And what do you know? In just a few moments' time, we should be tied up. 18 all at Suncorp.
Well, they've hit back in the best possible way, the Brisbane Broncos. But again, a turnover from the Storm. And then they elected to go wide. Tate slicing in between Orford and King. DeVere had an uninterrupted passage towards the try line. Scores next to the sticks. He'll convert, and we've got a locked-up ball game. Things that I've liked about the Broncos today, they've been prepared to chance their arm. Turnovers, they've looked to spread. After they've gone forward a couple of tackles, they've looked to spread. They've looked to play some exciting football here this afternoon.
The conversion is good. Andy Bickle, the Australian and Queensland, of course, fast bowler, watching on from the Broncos bench in his Broncos jumper here this afternoon. He'd like what he's seen in this opening to the second half. 18 plays 18. What a half an hour of football we've got coming up for you live this afternoon on Fox Sports. These two sides, of course, harking back to round 19 last year at Olympic Park, featured in a golden point game. Who knows? We might get there again. Seymour takes the kickoff and gives it to Carlo, who comes back at some speed to Scott Hill, and he dragged him and also Stephen Bell across the 20-metre line. Webke didn't get a great pass from dummy half, and Kafusi was up there quickly with Rodney Howe to stop him. Parker running at Cameron Smith. Once again, slides down the tackler. Ends up around the legs. Tallis stepping off the right, then the left. Got away from Rodney Howe's tackle. They picked up big metres again. Berrigan comes to Lockyer. Lovely pass to Carlaw. Berrigan trying to get it on to Kelly. Picked up by Brett Seymour. Not played at by Melbourne. And the halfback will play it here at the 20. Last tackle. Barry Berrigan from dummy half to Lockyer. Good ball to Carroll. They want one more. Carmichael Hunt has it. Lockyer standing. Flips it out the back. Knocked down by Kidwell. Knock on against Melbourne. Brisbane will stay on the attack.
Well, they're opened up in the middle of the park, Melbourne. And again, Broncos going wide, then attacking through their middle. Kidwell needed to come up with the football. He's now placed his team under plenty of pressure.
Seymour with the scrum feed. We'll go to the right. Tate puts a step on, but Orford defending.
Hold.
Berrigan. Come to Parker. Showed the ball to Carlaw. Kept going. Proving a handful to drag down. Eventually they get into the grass. Now Berrigan. Barry, that is, to Tallis. Steps away from Danny Williams. Looks for the line, but they stop him. Half a metre short. A quick pass to the left. Sean Berrigan. He certainly can sniff out a try. Scored 2 in the round 1 win over the Warriors here in Brisbane. Lockyer with Webke outside him. will bypass him. It goes over the shoulder there of Seymour, picked up by Corey Parker, and Howe stops him in front of the post, just inside the Storm 20. Seymour, the chip back in behind them, looking for the post, but taken on the full by Williams, but he left the ground from the field of play, says Stephen Clark, and it will be a goal line dropout against Melbourne. The Storm protest, but Stephen Clark emphatically says he was in the field of play when he left the ground.
Well, I think he's right. I think he could be right. Waiting for the goalpost to be fixed up at Lockyer. He was chasing through. He looks to be disappointed about something.
It was a good kick from Seymour. He was looking for a bounce off one of the uprights and almost got it. DeVere it is, who takes the goal line dropout. And Webke coming back at them. Reynolds back out there now for Melbourne. Barry Berrigan will give it to Seymour. Ball back on the inside for Carlaw, who's met by Reynolds and also Cameron Smith. Parker likes to get into first receiver, and feint a pass to Lockyer before shuffling it forward. He got them going backwards, and now Lockyer with space to move gives it to Tate.
Well read by David Kidwell.
Made a good tackle 5 metres out from the Storm line. Lockyer rubbering this time. Seymour is there. Oh, this time the bounce is a bad one for Brisbane. Luck's a fortune here this afternoon. The Lockyer kick for DeVere in the first half bounced up for him. This time Seymour was going to score surely, and the upright beat him.
Well, luck. They've had a little bit of it this afternoon. The Broncos on that occasion, it didn't favour them. And Slater was coming across, got the right bounce. I suppose that's one back on them for that try just on half-time.
Howe will play it for Cameron Smith, who gives it to Kearney. Good run from the second rower and captain. He'll play it quickly. We'll give Orford some time to get the kick away. Not a good one. It was only about 25 metres through the air on that occasion. He could have dumped it into the in-goal area and had them on their own line, but here's Kelly playing it. 15 out.
Well, they need to start winning the field position battle in the second half, the Storm. The majority of plays been up the other end of the field. The Broncos forwards, they become excited when it's down there. They want the football. It's a bit different when it's working it off their own line. Like all big forwards, they tend to struggle. The Broncos looking to shift again.
Seymour will play it to Barry Berrigan. Now Lockyer at the advantage line, dummied and went straight through them, then lost it. Well, how about that for letting the Melbourne Storm off the hook? They hung off him, waited for the ball off the hip, it never came, and Antonio Kafusi and Scott Hill watched as he went away and then dropped it.
Well, they've dodged a bullet, but they've got to be wary now of Darren Lockyer, more so. He's starting to become heavily involved. He will run. Hasn't done a great deal this afternoon. But that's just a warning.
Out.
Defensively, when he's got the football, beware. Look out for Berrigan. Coming inside balls around the middle of the park.
Hoffman playing it for Smith. As Melbourne through Williams come on the attack. They haven't been down this end of the field much in this opening 15 minutes so far of the second half. Howe will play it. 20 out from the Brisbane line. Orford with Kafusi outside him. Again, he runs the decoy. Hill for Slater. To Bell, who puts it down himself.
That's zero, dominant.
Well, we've seen some teams take some leads into half-time in 2004. The Raiders have given their some supporters some nervous moments so far this year. But Melbourne Storm, who led by 14 at one stage with 5 to play in the first half, are struggling to get through their sets at the moment.
Well, they looked as though they wanted to all catch and pass. No one wanted to put his body on the line. No one wanted to push into space. When you're going lateral, you need people to push into space to give you the option of straightening up the attack or playing out the back. On that occasion, they were all just drifting sideways. Too easy for the Broncos to read.
Tallis will play it back to Berrigan. Lockyer back on the inside for Seymour. It comes back to Lockyer again. 5 tackles gone. We'll see what option they come up with on the kick here. Chip kicks have been the order of the day. This time off the outside of the boot. Seymour just rolls it down towards the Melbourne in goal, where King will pick it up and bring it back out to be stopped by Seaver and also Myers. Orford from dummy half to Slater, who is a danger, of course, to go the length of the field in any situation. Bell from dummy half, a good run in his first game back. Missed the opening 2 games of the season with that stress fracture of the foot, and now Kidwell charging onto it. Did that so effectively, of course, for the Roosters in 2002 before moving to Melbourne at the beginning of last season. Kearney playing it. Smith puts the left foot on it and just picks the gap between Kelly and also Carmichael Hunt. And it's Kelly who'll bring it back. The chase eventually was a good one from Melbourne.
There's also good work by Robbie Kearns on that occasion. He was in front of the kick-up about 10 metres as the Broncos looked to shift it, Tallis, but he waited for the rest of the line to come to him. He held back. He didn't go one out. Would have made it easier for Kelly to beat him.
Seaver will play it back to Barry Berrigan. Lockyer with Carroll outside him, lining up, trying to run at the smaller Matt Orford, but he got some help from David Kidwell. Now Lockyer, a 3-on-2 down the short side. De Vere got it from Tate. Lockyer again working it so beautifully, just sizing the numbers up, and now he has it at first receiver on the open side. A kick in behind them. Sean Berrigan is coming, and he was denied this time by the bounce of the ball.
Well, it looked as though Scott Hill thought Billy Slater had it. Slater thought Hill had it. No communication, and again the bounce. It's favoured the Storm.
Get your mouth closed, Billy.
Twice in this second half now, Brisbane looked likely to score. Seymour was robbed on one occasion. On that occasion, it was Sean Berrigan. Kidwell, luckily, here has the ball go backwards off his hands. 4 tackles gone, still inside their own 20. Here's Matt King now picking up some valuable metres for them. They needed that play. They picked up 25 metres on it. A deep pass comes back to Cameron Smith, who will kick from inside the 40, and a good one as well. Hunt will pick it up, 5 out from his own line. Bring it back at speed, Slater's style, and Kelly was away. He put it down, and now Hill will reach out for the line and score for Melbourne. An incredible turnaround in this game, and a gift 4-pointer for the Storm.
Oh, looked as though it could have been a 4-pointer for the Brisbane Broncos. Carmichael Hunt done a fantastic job. Just going, drawing in Stephen Bell, went into the breadbasket of Stuart Kelly. He's dropped it. Hill picked it up. Oh, I don't know about the put down. Putting it out in the one arm.
Well, it
Kelly
was the put down from Kelly, which was the important play. Hill couldn't believe it. Kelly tripped over trying to get to him. It was a dodgy put down, but it didn't matter in the end. He got it there, and the Storm once again have a lead to play with here in Brisbane.
Both teams look to be struggling in the conditions, don't they? The forwards are quite tired.
And the completion rates, especially for the Melbourne Storm, have really dropped off in this opening 20 minutes of the second half. They'll consider themselves to be fairly lucky, holding a 4-point lead at the moment. Smith from wide out once again hits the upright. Stuart Kelly, the knock on which gifted Scott Hill a try, and now the ball off the kickoff bounces off the crossbar and comes back to Danny Williams. What sort of game is this?
Well, there's an old saying, isn't there, about the ball can bounce in many different ways, and we are seeing that this afternoon. I can't believe some of the things I've witnessed.
They reckon Matai Muralitharan can make the ball do some strange things. What about this game here this afternoon? Here's Reynoldsson now.
That was the Dusera kickoff.
It was something. Here's Robbie Kearns. He gives it back to Reynoldsson, standing in the tackle. Offloads to Slater, who tried to get away from Tallis, but he grabbed him very quickly. Last play for Melbourne. They find themselves, courtesy of that bizarre kickoff, in a good position. And now Bell looking for a quick pass away to Ryan Hoffman. Lost it. Sean Berrigan has it for Brisbane.
Well, he's a bit rusty, Stephen Bell. First game back for the year. They had a 2-on-1 down the short side with Stuart Kelly. That's an area that they're looking to attack. And Berrigan, he's down on his haunches. Broncos look to go wide once again. Darren Lockyer, can he slice through? On to Tate.
Here's Tate once more, as you say, with De Vere outside him. He was looking for a little Gidley pass with the right hand, but didn't get one. Lockyer comes back to Myers. On the run around with Lockyer. Here's Barry Berrigan, a 25-metre pass away to brother Sean. They both had the virus earlier this week, but it's not affecting them at the moment. Here's Stuart Kelly, dancing. Seymour on to Parker. He's grabbed at the Melbourne Storm 40, picked up by Robbie Kearns and also Danny Williams.
That was a good tackle by Williams. Had to be over the ball. They had the numbers, the Broncos.
Carroll to Tate. Good ball away to De Vere. He stopped just outside the Storm 20. Tate comes to Lockyer. Here's Seymour. Carmichael Hunt joining in. 2-on-1 here. Good pass from Berrigan to Kelly, who will reach out for the corner and tie us once again. Or has he?
Tim, just check the corner post, grounding, please.
Well, Kelly's gone over. They're going to check the corner post and the put down. He's quite happy with it, Stuart Kelly. Looked dangerous in a previous run. About 30 seconds ago. Slater does his best trying to come across. Oh.
It's close.
This might give us a better angle. Oh. Just can't see whether his hand actually comes down or it comes off the football. It looks as though it might have come away, but benefit of the doubt.
The head-on angle, that last one we showed, I don't think is a good angle. I'm happy to say, with the blur of the camera, it perhaps gives you the impression he might have dropped it, but it is a try. I'm happy with that one. Tim Mander gives the green lights to Stuart Kelly. And Brisbane once again have locked us up here, 22 each at Suncorp. And De Vere here with a kick from the sideline to put them in front. It looks all right off the boots. It's better than all right. It's good enough for a lead. What a kick from Michael De Vere. He makes it. 950 points now, a minor milestone in his career, but a major advancement for the Brisbane Broncos here today. 24 plays 22. As we look at Carmichael Hunt, can run and pass in the motion and got it away to Kelly, who reached out with the right hand. Slater came across to put some pressure on him, and we'll see what happens on this particular kickoff. They let it bounce and it comes back to Seymour, who eventually gets to it. It's an adventure in its own, a kickoff here this afternoon, isn't it?
I think we mentioned it before. After points have scored, how teams look shaky. Either completing their sets or on the kickoff. Someone's got to take charge. And it's usually the catchers. There's designated people in your team to catch the football from kickoffs.
Here's Carroll. Getting it up towards the halfway line. We'll play it back to Barry Berrigan here. Thought the tackles was too slow in getting off him. Lockyer kicked from inside the 40. Was angling for a 40-20, but Slater, with that blistering speed he has, gone over there to take it on the full and then makes them work to make the tackle as well. Matt King. An interesting afternoon. Got a big knock on this occasion from Gordon Tallis, who drilled him around the chest. Reynoldson will play it back here for Stephen Bell to work it away from dummy half. Smith from dummy half, kicking away from Carmichael Hunt, who knew he had to get there in a hurry. Picks it up in his own in goal, and a chance for Melbourne here to pin them inside their own 20, but Hunt gets away from the first tackle. Good kick return. We've seen a couple of impressive young fullbacks here today, Laurie.
Yeah, great run. Great run. They're really taking advantage now of the positional changes in the Melbourne Storm team, the Brisbane Broncos. They've had two outside men taken off the field, and there's a disruption out in the centres to them.
Tallis got the arm free, popped it up looking for Kelly. There's a chance for some big meters once again there for the left winger for the Broncos. Lockyer to Sivanasiva, who's tackled there at the halfway line. Berrigan. Come to Seymour and then Lockyer. The second man play for Carroll to Tate. Again, they've got a 2-on-1. What a move, and in and away from Tate. Grabbed by Matt Orford in a try-saving tackle. Great run, though, from Tate. De Vere gives it to Lockyer. Last play, Lockyer for the line. The champion reaches out and scores an important try here this afternoon for Brisbane.
Well, a great try. And again, taking advantage of Melbourne Storm's disruptions in their defensive line. They've got back rowers playing out in the centres. Then they're trying to put their 5'8" and halfbacks out in the centres. But it's different in defence. You've got to make correct decisions. If you don't make the correct decisions, you get found out. And that time, lovely second man play onto Tate. Tremendous cover tackle by Orford. And then Lockyer, instead of going wide, coming back down a short side and then straight through the ruck.
He had them shot to bits and realised that. It's an important try with just under 13 minutes remaining here at Suncorp. He gets his first of the season.
Yep. Okay, all right, thanks, Gavin. Mate, what are you saying? You're just going to be a bit careful, all right? He gave you the benefit of the doubt, all right? But you've got to be ultra careful when you're doing that sort of stuff. Because if you're tripping deliberately, mate, there's no question where you'll be going, all right? Good on you.
Just a warning there with timeout for Matt King about a potential trip in the lead up to that try by Darren Lockyer. And now De Vere. He kicked the conversion off the Kelly try to put them in front by 2. There's a big kick here. 8-point lead with 12 to play, given the Melbourne Storm's lack of numbers on the bench at the moment. Down to 2 men sitting back there with both McDougall and Turner out of the game. It'll be hard to come back if they trail by 8 after this. De Vere, the kick on its way, swings to the left-hand side. The Melbourne Storm will like that miss from Michael De Vere. It keeps them within a converted try. 28 plays 22 with 11 and a half left here in Brisbane.
Yeah, an important kick. Psychologically, it still gives the Storm a chance. They'd be still thinking they're a big hope if they can control the ball and get better field position. They've let themselves down in the second half. How important now is that try on the stroke of half-time?
It was a big play in the context of this game. Sivanasiva will play it for the Broncos. Barry Berrigan gives it to Shane Webke. Met there by Robbie Kearns. There's such good value for the Melbourne Storm, the former captain. Myers. Another good run, had the ball come loose, but it was stripped out by Melbourne.
Not you.
Antonio Kaufusi, the player penalised here. Robbie Kearns was around the shoulders, and then Kaufusi just punching the ball out of Myers' arms. Perhaps a little bit of panic there from Melbourne, realising they trail by 6. There's still plenty of time for them. Lockyer will find the line. About 43 out on the Melbourne Storm try line. And it's Sivanasiva who runs at them. Met there by Robinson and also Kaufusi. Here's Myers. Gives it on to Shane Webke. Stopped by Reynoldson. Was it too early perhaps to work it forward for a field goal in this set? Seymour to Tallis, who shows it, then comes back midfield, got away from Reynoldson, puts a step on. Oh, big Gordy! May well you punch the air. That's a game winner here for Brisbane. A Tallis special gets the Broncos home against the Storm.
Yeah, Tallis of old, wasn't it? The footwork, the speed. He's a damaging player when he's in this mood. He's looked likely on a couple of occasions this afternoon. It's just the Melbourne Storm forward. They're tied. There's nothing much happening here for Tallis. Off the left, then comes back on the right, straight through Reynoldson's tackle. Smith couldn't get him, Slater couldn't get him, and Big Gordy throws the hand up. He's happy. Game over.
He came back midfield. Too much speed for Reynoldson coming across, and then the step off the right foot was Slater-like itself, and he punched the air. He knows what that try means. The Broncos will likely now get a rare win here at Suncorp Stadium. The Melbourne Storm, with players missing, have been very good, but they've run out of gas, as it turns out, in the last 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, it's been a brave performance by the Storm, but they've been their own worst enemies in the second half. De Vere should convert this one. Yep, straight over.
He does from close range. And it's a big scoreline now for Brisbane. They lead by 12, 34 points to 22. 8.5 left. There is time for Melbourne, but they need something special from the likes of Orford, Hill or Slater, you would think, to score 2 quick tries here to send us to golden point time. Tallis got a huge reception from this Brisbane crowd as he came back to take up his position near the sideline. The kickoff is a short one. Flying for it was Matt King, who got a hand to it and saved the Melbourne Storm giving up a penalty back at the halfway line. It was destined to go out on the full. At least the touch forced a knock on and a scrum for Brisbane.
Broncos speed loose. Outside leg up, Petro.
2 big plays, weren't they? The try from Lockyer, then the one from Tallis.
And that's what you need.
Yep, in we go.
By your best players in tight situations.
Hang on, fellas, bring it
The
back.
big gun stepping up to the occasion.
None of this.
And there's certainly no two bigger names, I suppose, in rugby league,
Just hold, mate.
in Tallis and
In you
Lockyer.
go. 2 hands. That's better.
2 of the real stars of the game, of course, over the past decade.
Lost his leg.
Brent Tate there, losing his footing and immediately clutched at his left angle. And here's Wemke going forward. Tate is okay as he hobbles away in the background now. He held his breath there for a moment after, of course, missing the start of the season with that shoulder injury, which finished his 2003 season early. Super Siva playing it back for Barry Berrigan. Lockyer, it's been dynamic on that right-hand side in the second half, hasn't he been? Berrigan again from dummy half to Tallis, standing and getting away from the tackle there of Scott Hill. Lost the ball there. This one was clean, they say, and it's Williams who has it for Melbourne. If there'll be any chance, they need to score in this set of 6. And perhaps the Orford chip over the top for a flying Billy Slater might be the play they work for. Here is Orford giving it to Robinson.
Well, they certainly need their big guns to be involved now. You mentioned Orford. You mentioned Slater. Scotty Hill, he's another guy that's a key. They've got a second phase play chance their own. They're bunched around to play the ball.
Here's Williams taking it forward, grabbed by Wemke. We'll play it after 4. Smith from dummy half gives it to Scott Hill. Out to Stephen Bell, who again puts it down. He wasn't expecting that one, but it was always a chance to be flipped out the back in this situation.
Well, he's had an unhappy afternoon with his hands, Stephen Bell. It is his first game. Look, he's been put under pressure too by some of the passes, but you've just got to be expecting it, especially when you realise that guys like Hill can throw a pass off the ground when it looks as though he is held.
When you're ready.
Seymour with the feed.
Out to the second row.
Come back to Stuart Kelly. He's had his moments this afternoon. Here's Lockyer again, sending it back on the inside for Michael De Vere, who popped a high tackle from Scott Hill. He keeps going. Now Lockyer away to Brent Tate. The speed machine up against Billy Slater, who was able to match it with him and drag him into touch.
All in one movement.
Oh, Michael Hagan, if you were watching that, the Queensland coach would have been impressed by the speed on show then from both players.
Yeah, I think he'll have his mind on other things though at the moment, Michael Hagan, but certainly when he goes through the video and watches Billy Slater's game, see that he's heavily involved and got speed to burn.
Hang on, boys. When you're ready, Matt. Keep that leg up. Out!
Orford from the scrum win. Give it off to Scott Hill. This time the little flick out the back is taken safely by Stephen Bell. He'll play it back to Hill. Comes away to Ryan Hoffman. Met in a strong tackle. And Stuart Kelly came reeling out of it. Clutches at his chest or his sternum area as he floats back into his wing position now. Looking a bit sick and sorry by that collision. Here's Hoffman, or rather Reynoldsson, playing it back to Smith. Well, Williams has put down a simple pass. Their hands have let them down in the second half, and now it's Maguire who will play it for the Broncos. Immediately, they go to Lockyer down this right-hand side. Tate, again, gives it to De Vere, who is collected by Kidwell. Seven-Asiva will work it forward towards the post. They might have one more here for these Broncos fans to go home singing about. Seymour reaching up above himself to Lockyer. Second man play for Carmichael Hunt. Saw a chance. Opened up, then closed. Bell was there to make the tackle with Hoffman. Lockyer. Back to the short side. Gives it to Parker, who is stopped 4 metres out from the Storm line. 2 tackles left in this set. Lockyer comes to Seymour. Around the back of Webke. Here it comes to Carroll. He flips it back on the inside for Brent Tate. I'll play it here on the last. Maguire comes back to Seymour. He put the crossfield bomb in. Not too much pressure on Stephen Bell, as it turns out. He was able to take it on the full in the in-goal area. And they'll bring it back out to their 20.
Yeah, he took that well, Stephen Bell. I think the Broncos were expecting a grubber to the post. They were all lining up, but Seymour elected to go wide. Kelly still clutching at the sternum. Looks as though he's okay, though. But the Broncos have really aimed up in the second half. Come back from a deficit at half-time. How important that try just on half-time. We said that the game would go for 80 minutes. You have to do that when you play Brisbane. That's how it's panned out.
As Kidwell gets back to play it here, looking ahead to the matchups next week for both of these teams. The Brisbane Broncos take on the Roosters at Aussie Stadium. What a game that will be. And the Melbourne Storm will make the trip to Penrith to take on the defending premiers, who were so impressive against the Roosters on Friday night. 2 games to look forward to between the Broncos, the Roosters, and the Storm and the Panthers.
Well, there's great games every weekend because the competition is pretty tight. I mean, Penrith are outstanding on Friday night against the Roosters. The Roosters get a chance now to back up, take on their rivals in the Broncos. And the Storm taking on, I suppose, one of the, if not the favourite for the competition, the second favourites in the Panthers.
Carmichael Hunt will play at 30 out. Infield for the Broncos. We click through the final seconds here. Lockyer, a kick for Michael De Vere. King, what a pickup. What an offload for Slater, who steps back inside, has too much speed for them initially. Lockyer came across, and then De Vere came again to pick him up. A great piece of play from both teams. The kick from Lockyer almost had De Vere away. Then Billy Slater, fantastic at the back to watch, isn't he? Here's Bell striding away. He gives it to Hoffman, who's grabbed by Sean Berrigan. Perhaps Melbourne a chance to put on a late try here in the final 60 seconds. Williams back to Hill on the run around. Long pass for Orford. He flips it out the back. Picked up by Cameron Smith. He's grabbed by Seymour just outside the Broncos 10. Bell from dummy half, fends away from one, gives it to Reynoldsson. Quick hands away to Williams. Carrolls came up and snuffed it out, making a good tackle. Kafusi shovels it to Warford. Kearns bounces away past the feet of Kidwell, and then Matt King picks it up. The pass was a good one from Robbie Kearns, as it turns out, and the Storm do get a late try. They will narrow the gap here, but that will finish the action at Suncorp today.
Yeah, it was good hands, good ball movement by the Melbourne Storm. Look, both these sides are flat out on their feet. It's certainly been a high-paced game. Plenty of ball movement, plenty of running around. There goes Bahuda in the background. The Broncos would be happy in the fact that they've got the 2 points. I suppose they'd be a little bit disappointed that they conceded a try at the end. But they have got the 2 points.
And the Broncos have beaten the Melbourne Storm here at Suncorp today. A very impressive second half from them. And 8 points is the margin, 34-26.
Well, it was there for the Storm if they wanted it in the second half, but they had to get their completion rate going. They were playing good football in that first 40 minutes. They were using the football. They were throwing questions at the Broncos' defence. And at times they had the Broncos really quick play the balls going at them. But they just turned it over in the second half too many times, and the class of Broncos were able to get them home on the back of some wonderful performers.
That was the try that certainly sealed it for the Broncos. Gordon Tallis, a solo effort from a fair way out as well. Too much speed and strength for them. And in the end, Kelly scored 2, as did DeVere, Lockyer and Tallis. Important tries in the second half. DeVere, 5 from 7 with the boot. For the Melbourne Storm, King scored 2. Hoffman, Slater and Hill also scored tries. Smith kicked 3 from 5 and Orford 0 from 1 as well.
This has been a presentation of Fox Sports in partnership with the National Rugby League.